Welcome to the vigil for Tyre Nichols. It's such a sad occasion, but we need to, as a community, make sure that this doesn't happen to anyone else. And so we wanted to hold a vigil. Several organizations had contacted us and requested that we do something in Tyre Nichols' honor. And so that's why we're here tonight, to honor him. And also, we don't want to forget that this has happened too many times, and something needs to be done. We need some real change. And the only one way we're going to change is if everyone comes together as a community and demand change from Congress, senators, president, and everybody. So I'm not going to, go on and on about it, but I think you all know that we need change in this country, not just because of the police, killings, but there's just so much, the mental health issues, the homeless issues. There's just a lot that needs to change in our nation. And by us coming together, we can make those changes. Can everyone hear me? Okay. Yeah. We're here in the amphitheater because the church is having their mass, and so we can't have amplified sound up there. So I think this is good. This is nice and cozy. So I would like to bring to the stage right now someone who has been very, very supportive of our organization. I believe one of our founding members. And he's going to give our opening prayer, and he's going to speak to us. Reverend Rod Richards of the Unitarian Universalist Church.
No problem. Yes. As we gather together this evening, in the aftermath of this brutal death, as we reel with the horror of it, and as we honor the life of Tyre Nichols, as we reach out to comfort those who suffer the loss, as we address as best we can the trauma that ripples forth, may we also commit to changing what is. Because this is what is. In this world, in our world, this happened. And it has happened, and it has happened, and it has happened, and it has happened, and it is happening. May we ask the right questions and stop listening to the wrong answers about training needed and crime rates rising and good guys with guns and apples that are bad. Let us rather attend to the health of the tree and the disease of racism that lies in its roots and climbs through the trunk and tears us limb from limb. May we remember that we are bound up with not only Tyre, whose life was so brutally taken, but connected to the ones who acted so brutally. As they are held accountable, may we also hold ourselves accountable to changing what is, because this is what is. let us take seriously the fact that we are all connected. And if we are asked to believe anything, to believe this, that it is precisely our connection, caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied in a single garment of destiny. It is precisely our connection that offers hope. Forgive us for all the times we fail to respect our connection to the whole of the human family. Forgive us for not loving with a love so fierce that it will settle for nothing less than justice, collective liberation, and changing what is, because this is what is. While together we glimpse what is not yet, but can be. So may it be.
Thank you for those words. What the world needs now is love, sweet love. Listen to the lyrics. Sing along if you can. You know the words.
That there's just too little love for what the world needs now is love, sweet love. No, not just for some, but for everyone. Lord, we don't need another mountain. There are mountains and the hillsides enough to climb. There are oceans and rivers enough to cross, enough to last till the end of time. What the world needs now is love, sweet love. It's the only thing that there's just too little love. What the world needs now is love, sweet love. No, not just for some, but for everyone. Lord, we don't need another meadow. There are cornfields and wheat fields enough to grow. There are sunbeams and moonbeams enough to shine. Oh, listen, Lord, if you want to know what the world needs now is love, sweet love. It's the only thing that there's just too little love. What the world needs now is love, sweet love. No, not just for some, but for everyone. What the world needs now is love, sweet love. What the world needs now is love, sweet love. What the world needs now is love, sweet love. What the world needs now is love, sweet love. What the world needs now.
Thank you.
Isn't that the truth? We need some love up in here. Love, respect, all of that. And that's what we're missing. Tolerance. At this time, I'd like to call up Juanetta Perkins. And we have a couple of youth that are going to speak, and Netta will introduce them. I want to say Netta is a native of San Luis Obispo County. She grew up in Paso Robles, and she is with Paso People's Action.
Yeah.
Thank you. So before I was asked to speak, I sat down and I went to start to write what I was going to say, and it was the same day as the funeral for Tyre Nichols. So as I was getting my stuff together, I heard his two sisters come up and speak, and something said, "Netta, just listen." So I want to recite to you what Tyre Nichols' sister wrote to him. The poem is titled, "I'm Just Trying to Go Home." I'm just trying to go home. Is that too much to ask? I didn't break any laws along this path. I've skated across barriers designed to hold me back. I'm just trying to go home. Where the love is loud and the smiles are warm, like the sunsets that comfort me in the coldest of my storms. I'm just trying to go home. I hear the sirens. I see the flashlights. The directions are clear. Black skin go left. Blue skin go right. I'm just trying to go home. Don't I deserve to feel safe? But badges, boots, bright lights against my face. I'm just trying to go home. Does anyone hear the pain in my cry? The struggle in my breath? God replied, "Come home, my son. Now you can rest." This was said at his funeral. And I will leave you with that. I don't see my high schoolers. They're not here. Sure. They said they'd be late. But I just want you guys to remember that. So he just wanted to go home.
That was beautiful. I didn't get a chance to see his service on TV. I'm sure they'll play it again. But it is something that I would like to hear. You know, that was really beautiful. Thank you for sharing it. Okay, is Mayor Stewart here? The Honorable Erica A. Stewart, the first Black mayor of San Luis Obispo.
Thank you, Michelle. I wish we were here under better times, better circumstances. And of course, I have to get my notes in case I can get back to them at some point. You know, I think about why we're here today, and I wish we weren't. I wish we didn't have to be here. I wish we didn't have to go through another day where we see people that are harmed and killed by people with power. You know, typical vigils, memorials, you remember the good things about a person. I didn't personally know Tyre, but as I read about his life, you know, he was a photographer, he was a skateboarder, he was a father, and he was mama's baby boy. And I don't know how many of you are parents, but for those of you who are, or have someone that's close in your life with little ones, can you remember that day when you first saw your little one in your arms and you thought, I'm gonna do everything possible to protect them. I'm gonna get them to the best schools, I'm gonna make sure they're fed, they're not hungry, they're getting their clothes, do everything you can. And for Black people, there's typically a day when you have to have the talk. The talk when you say, okay, now if someone stops you, you have to keep your hands on the wheel. You need to say, yes, sir, yes, ma'am. You need to listen and follow the directions. One of the, I guess, awkward points in these last couple of years is, I'm sure all of you have had the conversations of describing what white privilege is. Well, I don't think many white people have had to have that talk. with their children. And I'm sure Tyree's mom had that talk. But it didn't matter. He did everything. He was literally on the ground, said, I'm on the ground, what else more can I do? And I think to Patrice Collier's cousin, Keenan Anderson, 31-year-old teacher. He was pulled over for DUI, and maybe that was a real thing for him. Maybe he was under the influence, and definitely, needs to be taken care of in that way. But he was taken out, put in a corner of a theater, told to put on his knees and his hands up in his head. And I'm not an officer, so I don't know all the training, but it didn't seem like the rest of the DWI and DUI moments. And I bring him up because in both moments with Tyre and Keenan, they had a moment in their head where they said, I'm gonna die here underneath the hands of someone who has authority over me, someone who has a weapon, and I don't have a choice. So I'm gonna run. I'm gonna hope that I'm gonna get to someone who will help me. And that just breaks my heart, because that shouldn't happen. And I have to say, I'm very, very thankful. Our SLO police department, they recognize the fact that these 5 officers, they weren't acting as appropriately as they should. They weren't doing what they should. And I thank you, Chief, truly from the bottom of my heart for putting that out there, because I feel there's hope for our community, and I feel there's hope for marginalized communities here. So as we think back to Tyre, I want to go back to my notes to make sure I don't miss anything. I just think about the many bills that are out there: justice for Miles, justice for Tyre now, justice for fill in the blank. I really hope that these bills that come together are really truly doing the reform that we need in the police department. I pray that the 988 and being able to call for mental illness will really help. And if you're not in SLO, I hope that you look into the 8 can't wait rules for the police and see that your police are willing to make change and make reform. So we have a long way to go, but thank you all for being here. Thank you for giving voice to Tyre and his memory. And I would just hope that we don't have to do this again.
I was born by the river in a little tent. Oh, and just like the river, I've been running ever since. It's been a long time coming, but I know a change gonna come. Oh, yes it will. It's been too hard living, but I'm afraid to die. 'Cause I don't know what's up there beyond the sky. It's been a long time coming, but I know a change gonna come. Oh, yes it will. I go to the movie and I go downtown. Somebody keep telling me don't hang around. It's been a long time coming, but I know a change gonna come. Oh, yes it will. Then I go to my brother say, brother, help me please. But he winds up knocking me back down on my knees. Lord, there've been times that I thought I couldn't last for long, but now I think I'm able to carry on. It's been a long time coming, but I know change gon' come. Oh, yes it will.
That song has so much meaning. I remember as a young girl, Sam Cooke, when he first came out with that, and I just was in love with it and still in love with that song, and it's relevant, still relevant today. We need change, and the only way we're going to do it is we come together as a community to make that change. Our youth have arrived, and so we will have them come up, and then after they speak, Rabbi Hyman will be speaking. So we have two youth from Paso Robles High School, and they will be sharing some words. You want to introduce yourself first?
All right, so hi, my name is Israel Perez. I am a senior at Paso Robles High School.
I'm Najee Bryant. I am also a senior at Paso High.
All right, so I just did a quick little page on how I felt after, seeing the media and seeing everything. So I'll just go ahead and read that out for you guys. Merriam-Webster states that police means the department of government concerned primarily with the maintenance of public order, safety, and health and enforcement of laws and possessing executive, judicial, and legislative powers. So why is that not the case? We have lost so many Black brothers and sisters to the hands of those who should be saving and helping us. I'm here to speak to you all, not to tell you that cops are inherently bad, but what I can say is that the system is long overdue for an update. According to the NAACP, the first police were slave catchers. This should already strike a nerve. Then the system went out of their way to target Black and brown individuals. Redlining, gentrification, and stereotypes plague the police department and will continue to plague unless we change it. And those are just three off the top of my head. According to several media outlets, Tyre Nichols' case isn't consistent. The police report called Nicholas an aggravated individual, but in the video later released, Nicholas isn't fighting back. The police report also mentions nothing about the beating of Nicole, which then later proved to be the reason why he passed. And as soon as I seen the photos from him in the hospital, I already knew that they treated my brother like an animal, said Jamal Dupree, who's Nicole's brother. And according to the UCLA Department of Police, the requirements to actually become an officer are to be 21, a citizen, free of felony convictions, driver's license, high school graduate, be fingerprinted, be physically able, do not be physically, emotionally, or mentally incapable of doing that, and then get a post certificate. So basically, all I gotta do is lose a few pounds, turn 21, and get my post certificate, and I can be a police officer. And according to the California.gov, every peace officer should also pass the introductory course relating to firearms. So there needs to be more than this, than just being a physically able 21-year-old. This to me is insane. The requirements are minuscule. There should be requirements in mental health. These officers should have seen terrible things. They should have mandatory therapy sessions to actually cope with what they see. They should be trained on how to talk to other cultures rather than the Eurocentric based population that they typically face. Again, we are not the same, though we do have common things. A brown person and a white person face different things on a day-to-day basis. They should learn to communicate with those under the influence rather than just suiting them, as we've seen in local media. They should shadow a fellow officer before they can even venture off on their own and learn from the best to be the best. And this should be an active part in our community. After all, they're supposed to be the one that quote-unquote protect us. Why is it that they patrol the communities with higher POC population? From where I am, Paso Robles, when I go pick up my friends on the side of Paso that has been gentrified, why are there police officers at every corner with the headlights off, ready to catch any slight mistake? Then as I drive into my community, where all my neighbors have back the blue flags and are predominantly white, I get no cop ready to pull me over for no valid reason. This system is corrupt and needs to change. They take our tax money to fund their salaries, cars, and weapons. We should have a saying on how our money is being used. I can say that my money should not be going to an institute that targets people like me, simply because they fear the abundance of melanin that rushes through my veins.
Yes.
They fear the curls that circumference my head.
Yes.
And they fear the accent that was given to me by my native tongue. Change the system before the system malfunctions and falls. Rest in peace, Tyre Nichols. You were a sunset photographer just like me, a skateboarder, a son, and most importantly, a father. You were taken way too soon. May you find comfort and peace at last. We honor you in power. May you rest.
Today I have written a poem that it really hits me, so just bear with me a little bit. You fought a good fight. It's already hard being black in this world, whether boy or girl. Now, Martin Luther King said, I have a dream that my 4 children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but the content of their character. Yet, when will we get there? I'm tired of seeing my people die everywhere. The news, social media, especially on police brutality. It's sad to say, but this is the reality. The reality of us being accused for nothing, being pinned down while screaming and cussing to the point where lives have been lost. We are being killed. From Breonna Taylor, George Floyd, Tyre Nichols, and many others. We need to fight, to be able to walk down these streets and not feel afraid, to walk past the police and not feel shade. I'm afraid to walk down these streets, thinking of what people would do to me, afraid to even use my freedom of speech, but we will and can overcome this monstrosity. Black lives matter. Every mother and father, anyone of that beautiful melanin. If you have a problem with my skin, you are the reason. The reason I have to plead. But then I don't care, because I know I'm going to be the blackest I can be.
Wow, that's our youth. They are our future. Well done. Rabbi, do you want to come on up? This is the most animated rabbi I've ever met.
Do I want to come up? No. Israel, and forgive me, the woman who just spoke, Lejay. Najay. Thank you. Thank you both, Israel and Najay. I mean, your words are so powerful, thoughtful, considered. It is the end of Shabbat. It's the time between the day of rest and the rest of the week. We have a ceremony that literally uses candles, and here we are in this vigil. I think of Rovan Wells, Tyree's mother, saying that God had given Tyre for this purpose, and his purpose has been served, and it breaks my heart. It breaks all of our hearts, because we know that his work is not done, and our work is not done. It is impossible to have Shabbat in this kind of turmoil and chaos, and yet there is order. There is coming together. There is vigil. These candles, and literally the law is to take one light and a separate light and bring them together. like next to the Bridge Cafe. Have you seen that mural, those braided candles? That is the collective light that we need to bring. Because the biggest mistake that people have about Shabbat and the rest of the week is that it's a day apart, a day separate from the rest of the week. I do work on the week, and Shabbat is my time. That's my time to chill. Could not be further than the truth. Shabbat is a time that we reflect. Shabbat is literally a time for sanctuary. Sanctuary. To hear Tyre Nichols scream, "Mom, Mom, Mom." 60 yards from his mom's house? He came all the way back from Sacramento to be near his mom. Everyone has the right to go home. Everyone has the right to return to his mother. But our work is not done. Obviously, our work is not to separate ourselves from one another, but also not to say that we're all the same. To elevate voices that we haven't heard in the past, to elevate more voices for justice and for fairness. To understand that not all police departments operate in the same way, and that some police officers are good. To understand that we are unique and individual, and to understand we each have a role to play. God, I wish Rovan was wrong, that Tyre has a purpose on this earth. It was to be a photographer, to be a skater, to be a human being. We need to bring our lights together. We need to do more justice. When I saw people showing up tonight, I knew we were in a good place. We know this, that there is goodness in this world. We know there's light to face darkness. That's what the tradition of Havdalah is. And so I ask you now, in a moment of silence, to raise these lights, to bring them ever so closer together, to understand how our community, how our organizations, how our police department, how our mayor's department, how our school board of supervisors, how Paso Robles, we can rise up and face the challenges that we do with dignity, kindness, and respect. As we face this week, there is work to do. Let God's work be done. May Tyre's memory be a blessing. May his soul empower. May we find truth and peace. Shavua Tov, to a week of peace. Thank you, Chef.
Thank you, Rabbi Hyman. At this time, I did see her earlier. Oh, there she is. I'd like to bring up Jacqueline Fredericks, who is the founder and president or CEO, I can't remember now, of Latino Outreach, and a friend. So
much, sweetheart. Well, it's again a privilege to have been invited to speak. I spoke at the very first NAACP rally where we had over 3,500 people. I'm so thankful that you're all still coming out, because as the rabbi just said, and others, we have so much more work to do. I represent the Latino Outreach Council, and I am devoted to equality and justice. I've fought for it my whole life in my career as an attorney and in my personal life. You know, each January 15, our nation celebrates the Reverend Martin Luther King, a man who in 1960 gave a speech to the NAACP, the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, and in later speeches where he spoke of the dream of equality. And he stated at that time that apathy and hypocrisy betrayed the cause of justice. Among many amazing and inspirational speeches, his I Have a Dream speech is one of his most iconic. When Reverend King would speak, hundreds of thousands of people would show up to hear him. The ideas in his speech talk about experiences of abuse, mistreatment, and exploitation of Black people. He reminds us that America is a nation founded to promise to provide freedom and justice for all people, but that America has defaulted on that promise. So here we are, 60 years later, and we must continue to pursue that dream. A dream, as he said, that, our beautiful little teenage girl said this, one day our little children will live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream today. The Latino Outreach Council joins in that dream for all people of color. Our immigrant crisis at the border, of thousands flocking here to escape poverty, corruption, and threats to their life. We need to ask our elected leaders at every level, what are you doing to resolve these issues? To put resources to facilitate orderly and humane immigration policies. And don't be mistaken, both major political parties are guilty of failing to address the immigrant issue through their apathy and hypocrisy of keeping this political football alive. Most people who know me know that I'm inherently an optimist. But doesn't it get harder and harder to see the light? To see that indeed the dream of equality and justice for all is achievable. With each outrageous injustice, we all think, again? Have we not learned? What happened to Tyre Nichols once again reminds us that the dream has not as yet been achieved and there is much to do. In this case, the police officers who inflicted their abhorrent, brutal, inhumane treatment of that young man are Black men themselves. What does that mean? It means that even though a police department has policies in place to ostensibly prevent brutality, it is not enough. Police departments need to look within their ranks and eliminate those who use their position of power to abuse, mistreat, inflict harm, and in too many cases kill the citizens they are supposed to protect and serve. We all know that the job of a police officer is dangerous and they put their lives on the line each and every day. We know, even in this town, that even here on our beautiful Central Coast, a community of loving people, that officers have been seriously injured and killed in the line of duty. There are evil and deranged people in the world, and we can be grateful to those good officers who do indeed protect us and are willing to face that evil. To them, I say thank you. But we as citizens deserve to not be afraid and intimidated by our police and sheriff deputies. Why should any of us be frightened when we get pulled over? And if you are a person of color, why should you be frightened and feel compelled to run for your life as Tyre did? He knew that that was not a run-of-the-mill traffic stop by that scorpion force. He knew his life was in danger. And for what? Every community in this nation deserves to know that their law enforcement agencies are looking within themselves to remove those officers who pose a danger to the citizens they serve. I want to thank the NAACP and the dedicated work of Cheryl and Stephen Vines who organize these vigils and these rallies, because the dream espoused 60 years ago by Dr. Martin Luther King have not yet been fulfilled, and we must continue to advocate for peace and for freedom and justice for all. I would like to invite our police chief to come down, because I think we all deserve to know and need to know where his heart is.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for having me up here, and I don't have any notes because I wasn't expecting to speak to you all today, but I appreciate the opportunity and the fact that you would like to hear from me. So I'm not just sad, and I'm not just disappointed in what policing has caused our communities across the country today, I'm mad and I'm angry because that's not representative of the people that I know that do this work. It's not representative of the men and women of San Luis Obispo that do this work. Our communities are less safe because of what happened across this country. And what happened in Memphis made everybody less safe. It's made everybody feel less safe, including the police officers that serve this community. Make no mistake, we have a lot of work to do. I will tell you, we don't hire great police officers here. And what I mean by that is we intentionally hire good people first, and we'll make them and train them to be great officers to serve our community. We hire people that want to serve their community and that love their community. And we hire people that are compassionate and kind and empathetic and have a heart to serve and give back. That's the people that we hire. We'll train them to do everything else, but we have to have good people first. And looking ahead, some of you may have had the opportunity to read the statement that I wrote. Those are just words, okay? They're just words on a piece of paper. Challenge us to show you with action on how we make policing better. We are making policing better in our community and to be a model for others to follow. Because the men and women that we hire here care about San Luis Obispo and they care about each and every one of you. So thank you once again for this opportunity. Your police department stands with you as we denounce this despicable act that happened to our country. And make no mistake, that's not a policy violation. That's not a training violation. They didn't miss days in the academy. This was a cultural violation. This was a flawed and criminal culture that took hold somewhere where it never should have. And it's our job, and it's my job, each and every day to curate a loving, compassionate, and caring culture that exists here in the San Luis Obispo Police Department. And that, I pledge to you, will always be our work. So thank you once again, and I appreciate the opportunity to be with you.
Thank you, Chief Scott. Those words. The next speaker really doesn't need an introduction. I'm sure most of you know him and you know how animated he is and everything. Did I lose the mic? No. Reverend Stephen Vines is our next speaker, and he's going to be sharing some words. He is one of the co-founders of the NAACP for SLO County and the current president, Steve Vines.
Yeah.
Well, we're here.
Yeah.
I'm sorry that we're here for a situation like this because that it's a shame that we have to come and have to be here, and just like mass shootings, we have to deal with this song of violence. Because that's really what's the issue here. Now, I just want to be clear that everybody know why we're here. It's violence. Violence perpetrated by whoever is violence. And as the minister gave the prayer, and he talks about our connectedness. And most people think that it's about your body, and a lot of times, I think when we get really off track and that we think that our eyes tell us the truth and that our eyes tell us what's going on, when the lie is that your eye can't tell you because what's going on you can't see. You can't see. And your eyes will tell you that you are your body. And that you have more melanin or less melanin, like that makes a difference or something. Because melanin is just melanin, because there's no such thing as racism, because there's only one race. But there's such a thing as melaninism. If you got more melanism, you're going to be treated differently. They're going to have a different value system about you because they think because I got more melanin or because I'm different or because I'm poor or because because I want to be who I want to be, that somehow that I'm not connected to you. But we connected through our mind. And your body is just there for you to communicate what's in your mind. And what the enemy is violence. The enemy ain't the police. The enemy ain't the crooks. The enemy ain't disorder. The enemy is violence. Violence that is physical violence, from beating and raping and torture, to passive violence, which is lying, greediness, stealing, not telling the truth, not taking care of the planet, not taking care of yourself, self-destruction. Because what we up against is our self-esteem being mutilated. To have to watch something like that, to have to watch TV, to watch HBO, where you watch 1 million murders and killings every day. And the black person is the first person to die. You can always say, oh, there's a black, oh, he's going to die first. It's going to be terrible too. But regardless of all the deaths you see, it's violence that we're up against. Violence for the mass shootings, that somebody would think that they can just kill anybody for anything. It's violence. We have a culture of violence that we got to get rid of. And it's not, and we can't do it unless we come together. And we got to understand it's our mind that connects us, not our bodies. Our bodies is just to communicate. And we need to liberate this world. We need to change this world, not only the police department, but our houses. How we think, how we get together, how we live, how we live a sustainable life. It's quit killing the planet. We all got to change. And we got to understand that at the core of violence is fear, anger, grief, boredom, and guilt that will destroy your self-esteem and make you a useless animal, not a divine creature. And that's who we are. We are divine creatures that our minds, when they come together, they are undefeatable. So as I end today, I want you to take with you is our minds. That the enemy is violence. Not each other. Does everybody got that? I want you to look at the person next to you and say, I have not made myself. Because myself is in you. Thank you.
Let's stand. And if you know the words to this, or just...
There are people dying. Oh, when it's time to lend a hand to life, the greatest gift of all. We can't go on pretending day by day that someone somewhere will soon make a change. We are a part of God's great big family, and the truth You know love is all we need.
We are the world. We are the people. We are the ones who make a better day. So let's start giving. There's a choice we're making. We're saving our own lives. It's true, we make a better day. Just you and me. Well, send them your heart so they know that someone cares, and their lives will be stronger and free.
As God has shown us by turning stone to bread, and so we all must lend a helping hand. We are the world. We are the children.
We are the ones to make a brighter day. So let's start giving.
Oh, there's a choice we're making. We're saving our lives. It's true, we make a better day, just you and me.
When you're down and out, and there seems no hope at all.
But if you just believe, there's nowhere we can fall.
Well, when others realize, oh, that a change can only come when we
Stand together as one. There's a choice we're making. We're saving our own lives. It's true, we make a better day, just you and me. It's true, we make a better day, just you and me. Oh, let me hear you. We are the world. Yeah, we are the children. Let's start giving. There's a choice we're making. We're saving our own lives. It's true, we make a brighter day, just you and me. Come on, now, let me hear you.
we are